Today we have one of our field research fellows, Joe Lerangis. Is that correct?
Yep.
Lerangis? Okay. Who is doing his research on Mongolian music. Joe, please introduce yourself and when we have a little talk about your current research in Mongolia.
Sure, yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Joe Lerangis. I am a field research fellow here for the summer. I'm currently a doctoral student at Yale School of Music, where my major is actually conducting. So I'm a conductor by trade, and I'm also the director of choral activities at Cornell University and assistant professor in the music department there, also in conducting. But I've lived in Mongolia for many years previously, and so my main research focus is Mongolian classical music.
All right, that's great. So you're a doctoral student, and can you tell us about your research, please?
Sure. So, being a doctoral student in classical music, I think a lot of my professors wanted me to study something German or study something much more along the sort of classical music vein. And so my initial research topic was actually Fanny Hensel, who's the older sister of Felix Mendelssohn.
Oh.
And so I did a bunch of research on her music and her work. But having lived in Mongolia and having this attachment to Mongolia, I kind of abandoned that and switched tracks.
And Mendelssohn is famous for?
Well, the little brother, Felix Mendelssohn, is famous for a whole bunch of things, but Elijah is his big oratorio.
I think I've like one piece of music that is always in the movies is Wedding March, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. In movies, weddings, etc. So it was actually his older sister, who is also a composer, and who's also an incredible composer, and was a pianist, and she just has a fascinating history. So that was my initial research topic. And I then took a very hard left turn to start studying the works of Byung-Soo Shatov, of the composer Big Shatov, and specifically to try to study the ways in which he hybridized Urtyn Duu, or long song, and sort of incorporated it into his music, and particularly wanting to look at music from before this or during the socialist period and after the socialist period, and how that might have changed.
For those who don't know who Shatov is, can you tell us more about him? Sure.
So Shatov, or Byung-Soo Shatov, grew up in Hinti province, was born in 1953, and 1952, I think I got that wrong. And he studied pretty much his entire, up until his bachelor's degree, he was studying in Mongolia, but then for 8 years he went to the USSR to study. And during that time, he started to kind of look back at, this is right at the end of the 1970s, at the early 1980s. And he begins to look back at some of these idioms from Mongolia. And frankly, I think he begins to miss Mongolia and his hometown. And he starts writing these pieces that are kind of bringing in Mongolian attributes, but in an interesting way, because it's socialism. So there's certain things that he can do and certain things that he can't do.
So you're also studying socialism and how things were done during those days too. I see. Yeah. So what made you, let's say, what inspired you to really focus on your research on his music?
Let's see. So really, I think it stems back to 2012 when I was studying Murhor here in the city, and it was my first winter in Mongolia, and it was tough. And I was trying really hard to learn Mongolian, and I felt lucky to have made a lot of Mongolian friends, but it was a tough winter. It's very cold, very polluted.
Well, you have a perfect Mongolian. Let's share some Mongolian with the audience.
So I'm sorry, Roshki. So we're just has voice to it.
It's okay. We know some of you're also famous in Mongolia, aren't you?
Yeah, right.
And tell us more about that.
Sure. So, well, just to cap off the thing that I was just saying, that winter of 2012 was when I fell in love with Shadow's works. It's, that like supported me. But yeah, so 5 years later, I entered into Universe Best Songs, the 10th anniversary Universe Best Songs, which is the Mongolian Idol competition sponsored by Ulaanbaatar Sheets or Ulaanbaatar Broadcasting System.
Short is UBS, right?
UBS, yeah.
Yes.
And so I entered and made it all the way to the final round and won a bunch of prizes, but a few of my videos of singing certain, usually Nitindo and Artindo, singing those types of songs became viral, and that was a whole big thing.
Yes, that's great. I think I've seen you sing too. Yeah. Well, not just recently. At the time, at the time the show was on, I think I saw you. Yeah. Cool. So, how's your research going so far?
It's going well so far. My research is, it's not as ethnographic as a lot of other academic research in Mongolia. So I'm not really relying on meeting people and doing ethnographic interviews. I'm a musician, I'm a performing musician. So a lot of what I'm focusing on is actually the very like or like very like music theory or music theoretical analysis. So what I'm trying to focus on is actually getting access to Shadow's scores and applying some of the kind of music analytical framework that I've created to look at what Shadow deals with in these scores and trying to sort of apply it to different scores, different pieces of music over time.
That all sounds very complicated. I have
it's easy.
I have a political science background, so to me it sounds very arcane.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. And we wish you good luck on the research and hope to see you for our virtual speakers very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Goodbye.